Cool. So by now you should know who we are and what we're doing here. We're trying to decide whether Steven Erikson's first installment in the Malazan Book of the Fallen, called Gardens of the Moon, is any good, and whether it has any prospect of making these three brand new readers want to read any more. And we get some head shaking already. So we're doing chapters 18 to 20. So we're getting near the end of the novel. And at the end, during our last video, which just before let me just say who we are. It's Gareth, Alistair, Adil, and myself. These guys are reading the novel for the first time, and I'm reading it for the third time. We're going through it, and we're trying to make some sense of it, which is easier at times and harder at others. If you have any comments, please feel free to drop them. We will engage with them. Feel free to tell us if you think we're wrong, or if we are blowing smoke up the author's arse, or are being overcritical. That's the way to get him on the show. In the meantime, at the last session, Alistair was moaning because we hadn't heard from the bridge burners for a while, and he was assured that the next chapter would start off with his friend Whiskey Jack and all the others, and that's exactly what it does. It goes straight into the bridge burners hold up in the city of Darugistan. And did you get what you needed out of the bridge burners scenes, Al?
I did. I did. Yeah. There's a lot of action in chapter 18.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of to and fro, back and forth. A lot of wounds. A lot of festeringness. A lot of stabby.
But before that, we get a very one of these sort of human scenes with the bridge burners.
I was just going to say, this is definitely my favorite scene that we've had with the bridge burners, for me anyway, and it's got my favorite quote, I think, from any of them so far in this opening scene.
Come on, let us have it.
All right, it's Fiddler, and he's talking to the group, and I think you probably know exactly what little monologue I'm talking about here. But Fiddler straightened in his chair and cleared his throat. Hedge poked him in the ribs as he was about to begin. After a menacing scowl, he tried again. It's like this, Sergeant. We've seen a hell of a lot of our friends die, right? And maybe we didn't have to give the orders, so maybe you think it's easy for us. But I don't think so. You see, to us, those people were living, breathing, they were friends. When they died, hurts. But you go around telling yourself the only way from keeping from going mad is to take all that away from them, so you don't have to think about it, so you don't have to feel anything when they die. But damn, when you take away everybody else's humanity, you take away your own. And that'll drive you mad as sure as anything. It's that hurt we feel that makes us keep going, Sergeant. And maybe we're not getting anywhere, but at least we're not running away from anything.
Yeah.
Wow, man. That last line, we may be not getting anywhere, but at least we're not running away from anything. It's like, damn.
It's all, it's true. And it's context of Whiskey Jack. He's trying to almost distance himself from these guys. And they're basically saying, forget it. You have that responsibility. We're not just soldiers; we're your mates. And you can't run away from it. It's quite.
But if you recall, a couple of episodes ago, you were talking about how he was reading a lot of interactions between soldiers in Vietnam, and that's one of the first things you read in any book or story, or if you listen to any podcast about it. One of the golden rules is don't make mates. Don't make friends of them, because they're not going to be here for long enough. And it seems that this is obviously the complete opposite of that. Wanting to be friends. And I think Whiskey Jack, as you say, he keeps like that distance.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
You could totally imagine that exact scene happening in a Vietnam movie, right? And I almost feel like it's so concrete and so sort of like they were almost made that first and worked backwards into it, right? It's like everything was building up towards that.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And we've been talking about some of the scenes that have this humanity to them, and as opposed to the scenes involving gods where whole lot of things happen, and there's strange interactions and a strange kind of cadence to the storytelling. But then you get scenes with just human beings being human beings, and they seem to have a sort of more relaxed cadence, and they seem to have just a sort of more, I don't know, a completely different feel to them. This seems to me to be one of them anyway.
I agree.
I can't remember even what they talk about, other than what Gareth highlighted is the humanity. And I like the fact that my man Fiddler gets a bit of spotlight.
Yeah. So I think
kind of like him.
Yeah, Quick Ben pretty much fills them in on what's going on with Sorry, right? And that he suspects that she's dead.
Yeah, he seems to think that she is.
Because he can't communicate with her through the rope anymore.
Yes, he doesn't. I don't think he contemplates that the rope may have just let her go.
Yeah.
But we leave these guys and we go to Perrin, who's still trying to bring Cole back into the city, and Cole's basically dying on his horse. There's some descriptions of the way the blood's coming through his clothing that were pretty visceral, and we know that at this point that Ocelot's climbed up to Kroll's belfry to get a view of that gate, and as soon as Cole comes in, he's going to basically finish him. And then you get this Perrin point of view about, he sees a sort of flash of metal up in the belfry as they come through the gate. But that's because, as we know, Ralik Nom has climbed up there to try and take out Ocelot. But before getting to the Ralik Nom Ocelot fight, I don't know. There's this Cole Perrin bringing Cole into the city. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I like the way that I think it was the guards took one look at him, and I think they knew him from the city.
They did, yeah. They recognize him or something.
Yeah, and they became like a bit protective of him.
Yeah, they didn't want to let him just like ride in on the back of a horse. They were like, no, we'll give him a proper ride or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like he's obviously was a man that once commanded respect, right?
Yeah.
And then it was Perrin actually seeing Darugistan for the first time.
Yeah,
and he was quite impressed with it. And I liked his arc in this chapter, because he finally we'll get to that, but I mean, he finally stops dicking around and commits.
And the reason they don't get shot, or Cole doesn't get shot, is that Ralik sets upon Ocelot. And we were talking last time about how Erikson doesn't really romanticize fight scenes. And my God, this is an example of a fight scene that's not very romantic. It's just visceral and brutal, that description of that fight.
And it's quick as well.
And it's quick, yeah.
It's very quick.
They both get basically quite severely injured. And I think it ends, I might be wrong, I think it ends with Ralik having killed Ocelot, basically lying on his back and expecting to die, essentially.
Yeah, he drives the dagger up through his armpit, out his shoulder, and then there's that little line about a blossom of blood or a bloom of blood, which I thought was quite cool.
And it's also pretty interesting because he uses that magic rust powder, right, that he gets from Baruch and that pretty much saves his life, eh?
I think so. I get a sense that he's only able to counter the magic of Ocelot because he has that stuff all over him.
I was almost led to believe it was almost like a placebo effect, though.
No, I don't think so, because we hear later in the chapter that he seems to be healing unnaturally quickly as well.
But then also he can't see it. I know what you mean. Now there's I think it's invisible to him or to everyone else except him.
Yeah, because he's like, give me a cloth, I want to clean my face. And then the guy's like, but there's nothing on your face.
Yes.
And that's when I thought, okay, maybe it was a placebo. Maybe it was just tricking him into being braver than he was.
I thought the implication of that was that it actually had absorbed into his skin. Or that he thought there was blood on his face, but his wounded healed, kind of thing.
Yeah, and he'd also had that warning, right, that it was going to change him. And so there was that was kind of ominous, but he just sort of ignored the warnings and he just went, hey, just chuck the stuff on.
As long as it doesn't change me as much as a dagger in the chest, I'll take the gamble.
Yeah.
Wasn't the warning not to put it on his skin?
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to touch it onto his skin at all.
YOLO!
He went over the factor 50 for Totoro.
Muppet.
And yeah, so that's what happens up there. And then I think we get another scene. Well, we get a scene with this Sister Andy assassin called Serat, who's trying to find Crocus. But and this is a weird thing, because there's, in the next few chapters, there's several small scenes where we hear her attempt to try and get hold of Crocus, which should be easy, but at every turn she's kind of getting stopped by weird otherworldly or invisible forces. And she's, this is the first of those scenes where we meet her. She's this deadly assassin who's going to take Crocus out because she seems to know where he is, I think because of the coin. And yet she just fails continuously in the course of this episode.
And is it her that is like left in that embarrassing position in the street where they, instead of killing her, they just lay her out on the road with their weapons next to her?
Yeah, and she wakes up and completely humiliated.
It's just your average Saturday night, boys. For me, anyway. Anybody seen my daggers?
Yeah, I didn't feel like we had enough of a chance to truly understand her, though. Like, we had little snippets, and mostly it was about what she was doing rather than why or what she was really about. But yeah, she's the only one of the sister Andy that we've had, isn't it? She's the only female sister Andy we've seen so far.
Yeah, and she was, it turns out, is the one who was leading the original attack on Crocus in the first few chapters when they were chasing him across the rooftops. But Perrin manages to get Cole to the, what they call it, the Phoenix Inn.
The Phoenix Inn.
Installs him in one of the rooms, and the sense is that he's going to die. Meanwhile, Absalar and Crocus have been hidden in the same building, but in the attic.
Yeah. But I liked what they did there with the action happening in the same building, different people kind of looking for each other, but sort of slightly just beyond the next door. And again, I can just imagine that being shot as well.
Yeah. Exactly. I was going to say, like, again, it just harkens back to it being a screenplay, right? You can just deal, like you say, you can just see that being a movie.
Cops.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Cole's down below. You'll see the camera will actually pan down through the floorboards into the scene below.
Like Wes Anderson.
Yeah, exactly. But and Perrin seems to just give up, goes downstairs, orders a drink at the Phoenix Inn, and then takes his sword, this blessed / cursed blade, and sticks it into the slats in the wooden table. And am I right? He was going to snap it in half. That was what his plan.
He was trying. Yeah.
Because was it Rake that spoke to him, told him that his luck has changed?
Yeah.
And then he said, because he's rejoicing in the fact that he's met these 3 new people.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, all these 3 people have nearly dead or died and grievously wounded. So he thinks maybe his luck's turned for the worse. Yeah. So I got that he wanted to snap the sword.
Yeah.
Get rid of it completely.
It's great because he says, I think it's Rake who says to him, your options are destroy it or give it to your worst enemy, and Opon's not going to take it, so I guess the only thing I can do is destroy it.
Yeah.
But then lo and behold,
Kalam walks into the bar.
Exactly.
Yeah, these guys are all infiltrating spies, but they're kind of having drinks when they feel like it. Yeah, it's a bit James Bond.
The Rujistan needs another tavern, I think, is what we're figuring out here.
There's the Phoenix Inn, which is where all the locals hang out, and the Quips Bar, where the bridge burners are basically all living.
Yeah, everyone else is in the Phoenix.
Yeah,
like every skullduggery ne'er-do-well is hanging out in the Phoenix.
But they recognize each other. I don't even know if they even know each other. I think.
No, I think they figure it out.
Yeah, they work out who they are, and then
Perrin assumes command.
Just go get your healer because we can.
No, but Callum recognizes him.
Yeah, he recognizes him
when he says Captain. Because he remembers when Perrin was kind of dead, when they picked him up, and he remembers him from that time.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So Perrin
that's right because Callum was Perrin was unconscious at the time, so Callum will recognize him, but he wouldn't He wouldn't. Okay. And they bring not only Mallet but the whole flippin' crew to the Phoenix Inn, Whiskey Jack and others, and they all meet, and Mallet starts trying to do some deep healing magic on Cole. Not because he knows Cole. I mean, he's technically an enemy, I suppose. But because Perrin says you got to heal this guy. You know, we were talking about it the other day. These individual decisions that have got nothing to do with empire or what side you're on or where you are in a conflict. It just seems to be sort of individual-based decisions. And then we get one of the weirdest scenes in the entire novel.
Hello?
Colloquially known by the fans as the bone phone scene.
The bone phone, yeah.
Where, Whiskey Jack
That was unexpected.
unwraps
it was a bit
of bone from some cloth and calls Dujek.
Hello.
Dujek, one arm.
What do they say in Italian? Pronto.
And so he seems to surprise everybody with this piece of kit.
That kind of it slightly pulled me out for a second or two. Really, bone phone.
And
I was listening to it on the audiobook and I had to actually stop and check that it wasn't a separate scene, like we hadn't jumped forward in time and okay, now they're together again and chatting.
You weren't on a different book.
Yeah, really weird.
But there's this, there's communication, and they tell Dujek that Perrin is alive. And basically, it seems from the conversation that Dujek knows flipping everything.
Which raised my spidey senses a lot. I was like, because but he's like being so open, like, we're going to betray everyone, and you're going to betray everyone, and we're all going to betray everyone together. I'm like, wow, dude, don't you like speaking code word, or I've got 6 lemons to be delivered at midnight? Just like, you're going to backstab everyone.
Trust this Perrin guy. Yeah, I'm with you guys. Cool. I'll tell you the whole plan.
You reckon someone's tapping the phone there?
Yeah, dude. I think it wasn't who he thought he was talking to. I thought it was. That's what I think, because he was well forthcoming.
He was.
And he lured. But then I think to myself, also, Whiskey Jack's no schmuck. He's been around the block. No. So maybe he knows. So this is like, he knows that I know that he knows. But I don't know.
But I mean, Dujek says to him that they're about to lose the continent of Janabakis. That when he saw Lorne's the Empress's preparations delivered by Lorne, he realized instantly that the whole intention was to lose the continent.
Yeah.
And that, and that effectively says, I don't know if it's in this part, he says they're basically going to go rogue, essentially, the whole army. And they're gonna. Well, he doesn't say that. He says they're gonna fight against. The real fight is against this other person or this other entity called the Panian Seer, which is on this continent.
Yeah.
And
that kind of annoyed me.
Why?
Because it's like, do we not have enough to try and comprehend and threats and antagonists, and you've got the Chester Andy, and then you've got what was the other one now?
The Jagger Tyrant.
Don't forget the Tyrant stomping his way across
Mick Jagger from the south. And then you've got, what was the other one we were reading about last week?
Crimson Guard?
No, the one that Crone went to go and see, the people in the north.
Yeah, that's the Crimson Guard and what's
she
his
got
name?
that, and then just like in between sentences, like, oh, here's another diabolical threat. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, how many diabolical threats can you juggle at once?
What if they are all threats?
I don't know. Yeah, I know for sure. Then I was like, okay, this is getting a bit much.
At this point in the book, it's just like,
Yeah.
Another
one. Next. Anyway, point is, says Dujek, our real threat is this other guy. We've actually heard about it before. One of the Circle Breaker chapters talked about this Panian Seer growing in the south and the war starting, etc.
No, I didn't remember that at all.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah,
but this was the first time I'd read that name.
Yeah, and well, look at the archives, you'll find it.
I definitely heard of the Panian Seer before, but I was like, I just had no picture in my head of what that meant, like who that was.
Yeah.
Thing is, though, if there's no build-up, there's no like to the reader. If there's no build-up to it, there's no threat.
Yeah.
Just because a character tells me it's a threat doesn't make me feel that it's a threat.
No, but I mean, we're talking about point of view storytelling, so you're only getting what the character thinks.
I suppose so, but I mean, you could have gone back in time and maybe foreshadowed it a little bit more than, don't worry about all of these threats, focus on this threat.
Yeah, and we leave them immediately. So we have the bone phone conversation, and then we go into the barrow of the Jagged Tyrant, where Lorne and Toole are busy ransacking the place, looking for something called a finist. Basically, Toole's telling her, look, you need to find this thing. Once you have this thing, the Jagged will come for you wherever you are. Will come for you, not comfort you.
Oh, it'll comfort you, all right.
He ain't gonna comfort you. And then she finds an acorn amongst his possessions.
Yeah.
And that's it. Finished.
Feels very Harry Potter.
Yeah, a little bit of a Horcrux.
Yeah.
Or what are those Apple things? Those Apple Pod things? What? Those Apple Tracker things?
Oh, like I don't know, AirTag or whatever.
AirTag, that's it. It's like an AirTag.
Implanted in your brain, huh?
What's his name? Elon what?
Yeah. He who shall not be named.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's the end of the chapter. We're going to 19. So I mean, it's a pretty punchy chapter. And there's a bit of revelation, I suppose, in terms of Dujet having all these plans. But then we go to chapter 19, where we go back to Crocus and Absalar getting restless in their attic. So Crocus decides that they must escape. I think Crocus, like every decision Crocus makes, other than bending down to pick up a coin, is a bad decision in this novel.
So is he still in love with the Shalice Daal? What is his reason for wanting to go and talk to her so badly? I thought he was like infatuated with Absalar now.
I think he is. I don't think he has any clue.
He's just a player.
Yeah.
Or he's just an ultimate pawn in the game of the gods, bro. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's also like a bit of a comic relief in the sense that he just can't really make up his mind or do anything right, it seems.
It is pretty funny, that this character that everyone's been hunting after and seeking and wants to it's just this horny teenage boy, basically.
Yeah. He couldn't be trusted to sit the right way on a toilet seat.
He's like 5 IQ points away from Beavis or Butthead. It's bad.
It's not. That's a very good description. Yeah, because he plans their escape from this attic, and of course Serat is waiting to murder him as soon as he gets out. And as he does, some kind of invisible force just takes her out and stops her doing this.
Yeah,
he's definitely got like a guardian angel of some sort. This guy.
Yeah,
a host of angels. It's just like, because she just gets blocked at every attempt, and
she does. And she's supposed to be this
I couldn't quite work out who that was. I'm sure we're supposed to know. So
you are.
Yeah. Who is it?
Well, it's somebody who ends off the final block attempt on her by saying, "The prince says his regards," or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I read this today, and I can't even remember that.
The only prince that's referred to in the novel is Prince Kaz D'Avor, who's the leader of the Crimson Guard. Who are the guys that are fighting with Caladan Brood and Break.
Okay,
so what are they doing in Darustan?
We'll get there. All shall be revealed.
Damn it, Dill, you cracked open a can of worms there.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. No, I didn't get that one at all. I mean, I thought it was someone else. I thought it was like one of Rake's guys or something. But
well, they are. I mean, they're allies of Rake's.
Yeah, sure.
Wow. I'm still not remembering any of this.
There's someone whispers in their ear.
Yeah, exactly. Like she gets. It's the last time we haven't got
visible.
So it's one of the many times she just gets stopped from taking out Crocus. And then we get poor old Murillo, who believes Rallick is dead, and now he's going to have to be the guy that's going to have to fight Turban Orr in a duel instead of Rallick.
He's up for it though.
He seems to steel himself to the fact that he's gonna have to do it. And then while he's going through this, relic comes, he does like something from Top Secret. Do you remember the French resistance in Top Secret?
Yes.
The guy that took all his
Yes.
shot to pieces. Yeah, that guy. Latrine. Yeah. He comes in and he's basically been cut to bits, and he basically gets some medicine. He seems to be healing by himself. But Murillo says he's going to go find the eel because he thinks he knows who the eel is.
The eel is, yeah, of course.
So Murillo says he thinks he knows who the eel is, and then of course Erikson cuts straight to a meeting between Baruch and Krupp, where Baruch's trying to tell Krupp, "Can you get a message to the eel for me?" And Krupp's like, "Yeah, I can probably do that."
For 500 gold pieces.
Yes, I might be able to, given the right incentive. We then also jump back. This chapter kind of does a lot of things. It sort of sits between two bigger chapters, and it seems to be a lot of kind of just joining things together, if you ask me. But we go back to the bridge burners, and Perrin now trying to work out what Whiskey Jack and Dujek and these guys are really up to.
Didn't he overhear on the phone though?
Yes, he did to some extent, but he goes further, and he thinks that their plan is to cripple Darugistan, so that Dujek's new renegade army can move in and restore order, and then use it as the basis to mount an assault on this Panian Dom. Because he initially can't understand why you'd be mining the streets if you're now a renegade army. You don't have any allegiance to the empire. But he reckons it's some kind of destabilization plan to take over control of the Darugistan and use it as a base. But at least that's Perrin's view of what's going on.
Which was not far from the original plan anyway. Right?
Which is, good point. It's not far from what Dujek actually said or what they were sent to do in the first place. Just the only difference being you either on one hand you're working for the empire, on the other hand you're not. But of course, nothing's that simple in these books.
No.
We go back to Lorne briefly.
Lorne's not doing so well.
No, but she's starting to wonder about Perrin. She admits that she was a little bit attracted to him. She wonders if she'll see him again. Who knows? Somebody said in our live or die quiz the other day that she was going to die anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Wonder who that could be.
It was Gareth.
Gareth had it on for death.
Yeah. And then I wish that I don't know why he chooses this to end the chapter on, but we have now Crocus decides to take Apsala to the top of Krull's belfry in the middle of the night.
Because that's just the best place to go. Ancient gods and sacrifices and stuff.
Yes.
And I love it. He's like, don't worry, that god's been dead for thousands of years. It's chill.
But it's like, why? But it's clearly like...
Well, as it turns out, it was safer than staying in the Phoenix Inn.
Yeah, that's true. But it's, he tells about his plan to go and see, make things right with the Dahl family, and she must come with him.
That's like super cringe, dude.
So
Hanging your new flame to your old flame's house. What a rookie move!
Yeah, he's the ultimate rookie. But we do have this kind of slightly romantic scene with the moon in the background. I can see the cinematography of it now. And them talking about the gardens of the moon that exist under the sea, and there's this guy in the moon who's going to come down one day and take everyone back up there, and they're all going to live in the gardens. And it's going to be so cool.
And then she seemed to be seeing stuff that he couldn't see. So it was almost like she was seeing in the dark.
Yes,
And
that's true.
And I wasn't sure what that was supposed to be forewarning of, or giving us some kind of clue towards, because she had been acting a little bit strangely and saying things, and then he was just dismissing it. But now she was starting to go like, okay, well, what's happening to me?
Yeah.
She had memories of a different place she'd never been to.
I think we've been getting a lot of these little snippets to suggest that when Cotillion left her, she's retained a lot of his stuff.
She can speak Daru.
Yeah, she's so she. I mean, he's this arch god patron of assassins, and she has retained a certain amount of his personality or abilities or skills. That's what the impression I get anyway. That's I think it's one of those. I think it's one of those clues. So I read it anyway. But they close out the chapter, and we go to another chapter of Revelations. I mean, there are a few in this section. This is chapter 20, and it starts with Murillo walking the streets, and he's musing about taking Ralik's place, and then he goes off on a tangent about this machine that exists in the city. Did anyone pick that bit up? This device, made by some
calendar thing, hey?
Yeah, made by a guy called Icarium, and there's a few references in this chapter to that device. And Icarium is this guy who we don't see. You'll see in further books if you read on, but he bumps into Krupp in the middle of this, and Krupp's got masks already lined up for Lady Simtel's party. Including one for himself, which is like a cherub's face.
Up at a party, dude. That must be frightening.
And Murillo can't work out how Krupp's got an invitation, but Krupp's organized it.
And I love that Krupp thinks that he's going to be unrecognizable wearing this mask.
Yeah, he's not the only person in this chapter who seems to labor under the false impression that they're not going to be recognized.
Yep.
But anyway, he and Murillo confronts him and says, "Ha! I know who you are. You're the evil.
Yeah.
I've worked it out." And Krupp says, "Okay, you got me," and then just neuralizes him like
Men in Black scene. Yeah.
And it's so funny because firstly, let me get to the question of: did you guys know who the eel was?
No.
I don't.
I think we did work it out, though. I thought we had worked it out at some
Maybe
point.
as a joke. Maybe we said like, "Oh, it's going to be Krupp or something." But
I think at some point you asked us to guess, hey, Rob. Or if you asked us if we had any ideas as to who it could be, but I don't think we.
I think the reason I asked was having now rereading it. There are about 2 or 3 scenes between Ralik and Murillo where they clearly suspect that it's. And I thought it meant they knew who he was, and it was just dropping clues to the reader, like they say on several occasions. He's a slippery one, that Krupp,
okay.
And it's all built into their banter. But now I realize I suspect they probably worked it out several times. It's actually they just have this idea because they're getting neuralized regularly as soon as they work out who he is.
Hey, damn! Wow.
Maybe that's why that teenager's so brain dead, because he's just been neuralized too much.
Because Krupp just look into this device, and then Murillo walks off wondering why he was so angry at Krupp.
Great.
But this party's going to be a shindig and a half, bro.
Everyone's going.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. I mean, so
Even
Murillo
and Amanda Rake, right?
Yeah, that's the next scene. So Baruch,
no one's going to recognize him. Yeah.
And Rake says, "I'm going to the party." And he's like, "I don't think that's the greatest idea." Why? He says, "I mean,
blend in."
The first half of this chapter is people just trying to shake off their awkward +1s. No, I'm sure you've got much better things to do. You're not even going to like it. Not
Yeah,
your
you might
vibe.
like the party. Yeah. No, I'm keen to go. I can be subtle,
Yeah.
and we're going to be masked. No one will recognize me.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm
And
9
there'll
foot
be other
tall.
7-foot people in the place.
Yeah, and I have like bone white hair and a sword that's demonic.
Absolutely, no one will know who I am.
And my best mate's a giant raven.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least she can hide herself.
True, and she can turn into anything. He's as you say, an 8-foot tall colossus with waist length silver hair.
Be like a Baldric skit, like a Blackadder skit.
Yeah, I have devised a cunning disguise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as you say, everyone's building up to this big party, Lady Simtal's party, at which Rallick and Murillo are planning to pull off a coup to regain Cole's honor, but everyone else is going for their own reasons. I think even Crocus is going, and he reckons that he'll disguise himself as a thief. The dumbest idea ever.
Like
I
a
don't know how I
swag
ever
bag,
wanted to put him in my D&D
hamburger
party.
mask.
Yeah.
Black and white striped shirt, hiding behind people.
Yeah.
He's an idiot.
Yeah, so it's another one of those scenes where you imagine this plush living room with Rake and Baruch enjoying a brandy and a cigar,
I like this scene. I'll tell you why in a minute.
You like all the scenes involving Rake and Baruch sitting down and
No, but there was a bombshell. There was a bombshell here, and the way that it was written, it made me think, okay, hang on a minute, because he says something about Baruch speaks about that guy we just discussed now, the machine.
Icarium and his gift.
Yeah, and it almost seems as if Rake didn't know about it, or knew about it, had maybe forgotten about it, or was unaware of it, because he changes. He's like, "What did you say?" And he mentions was it the season or something like that.
Yeah, it seems to be a device that maps the turning of the planets and the seasons and has these portents associated with it.
Yeah.
And the naming of the months.
Yeah. And that seemed to me to be quite important. That seemed to be like quite a big Easter egg. It's going to obviously going to come down later. And sorry?
Because Rake says to Baruch, don't ignore the gifts of Icarium. They're important, Like I knew the guy back in the day, sort of thing.
1,000 years ago.
Yeah, 1,000 years ago I met him. I can't wait for you guys to meet him if you ever do. But he's supposed to be a Juggernaut. At least they mention that.
He's got the moves like Jagger.
Yeah, he's got the moves like all the Juggernaut. And then,
but that scene for me was quite cool, because it made me think that maybe Rake's not as all-seeing, dancing, powerful as he thinks he is.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe he's just a cautious fella.
Or being reminded of something, of a prophecy that he's forgotten.
And it's to do with the naming of the months.
That was it.
The year of 5 tusks becoming the year of moon's tears. You will probably need another 4 books to understand that, but be that as it may. And then we have dear old Lorne entering the city in disguise. Or at least so she thinks.
Going to the party.
Yeah. She sneaks in via one of the gates. But who's manning the gate? Not your regular guard, but good old circle breaker. And he says, that's exactly the woman I've been asked to look out for. We, of course, now know that Circle Breaker is working for Krupp. As is just about everyone else. And he then finds out from the other guard working that guard's pulling an extra shift, being a mall cop that night. And in fact is hired security at Lady Simtal's party, and Circuit Breaker says, "Yeah, you know what? I'll do you a solid. I'll take that shift for you. So you go home and get a good night's sleep. I will handle your late night party shift." Still into Circle Breaker?
It's also great the way he teases the name at the end. That last line in that sort of paragraph. What does he say? It's a deal, friend. Hey, I don't even know your name. Circle Breaker smiled, then told him.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so nice.
It is, yeah. It's a good way to end it off. And so Circle Breaker is basically he's one of the spies that works for Krupp.
But it does make you wonder how Krupp runs this whole operation, right? I mean, I don't know if that ever gets explored or whatever, but how, you know, if he disguises himself or just does it all through like letters, I don't know, because these people obviously don't know it's him.
Yeah. So but we know he's the eel. I mean, we know he's the one who's been feeding information to Baruch, both in the form of Krupp, but also through Circle Breaker, purporting to be acting for the eel. So yeah, he's connected.
Well, we did say like many chapters ago that there was definitely more to him than met the eye.
Absolutely, yeah.
Kruppster, because it's almost like an onion. Like it starts off, he's like this dreaming buffoon, and then he's like the butt of all the jokes.
Yeah.
But then slowly you start to see, okay, hang on a minute, he's got magic powers, and then you see interactions with him, and you realize he knows more than he should, and now eventually you realize, okay, he's actually the slippery eel.
Yeah.
But as Gareth says, I'd like to know how he does his dirty deeds.
He manages it. Yeah. Well,
what's his management style?
Yeah, loose, I would imagine.
Yeah, very loose.
Laissez-faire.
Yeah. So Lorne makes her way and eventually finds the bridge burners. It's a nice scene because it's typical bridge burners. You know, the guys are playing cards. When she walks in, they're not only playing cards; they're playing some stupid card game with a deck of dragons. And like Fiddler's kind of spitting fire and prophecy while he's dealing poker hands. But they don't exactly like even get up when she comes in. I quite like that. I kind of like that. Was very bridge burnerish.
They don't care, dude.
Yeah, and she comes in, ostensibly takes over command, or at least. And she has this conversation with Whiskey Jack where he basically says, yes, you have some great ideas. Of course you can take over.
And she hates that she agrees with all the things he's saying, and how like she hates to admit that he's actually doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, but he's also, I mean, he's clearly just pandering to her. I thought, like, yeah, no, you're right. That's an excellent plan. We'll follow your lead on that one.
Yeah,
sure we can do that.
Yeah, but he was forewarned though, wasn't he, on the bone phone?
I don't know if he was. I can't remember if they knew. Well, I think
he knows that she's up to no good. That's why he just placates her.
And she asks him about Sorry. He says Sorry's dead.
Sorry,
she
not
says,
sorry.
No. Sorry's not dead. She's actually a spy, and I'm here to kill her. And she's an excellent spy, and Lorne is going to take out Sorry. And I just got this whole sense of this conversation that like Whiskey Jack's playing Lorne completely. Yes, you know, we'll do exactly what you say. What do you guys make of it? I mean, it felt a bit weird, the whole conversation to me.
Yeah, it's definitely
right.
Yeah, but going in, I was under the impression that he knew she was duplicitous, and he was gonna lure her in with military jargon talk, like, yep, that was the plan, this is the plan, these are our orders, we're following our orders, this plan didn't work, so we're doing this. As you know, we were supposed to get the Assassin's Guild and kill them. You know, but you should have, but then you should have done this. Yeah, but we've already done that. We've got guys seeking them out tonight. We're going to take them out. So he kind of answers all the questions before she could even, you know, get them out properly. Yeah, I think he's leading her down the path.
Yeah, and she's carrying this acorn with her, so she's basically like the bait for this tyrant to come in.
I wonder if she knows what she's actually summoned or resurrected.
I think she has an idea. I mean, in all her discussions with Toole, he's saying, well, I don't think this is a great idea, but she's so like the Empress's right hand that she just, she does what she's ordered to do, and that's it. She almost suppresses any sort of individual thought.
What is the plan there again? So if we, so now her plan is to come in, bring the seed, or this thing that's going to bring the Jagged in, and what, leave it in Darujistan and have the Jagged just take out the city?
Well, as I understood it, the rather convoluted plan was do that, take it in, have the Jagged come into Darujistan. The only way that Darujistan could be protected is if Rake intervenes. Because Rake's the only one who can take on the Jagged, but in doing so, he will be so terribly wounded or mauled that he won't have any strength to defend the city. And that will make it ripe for imperial invasion.
But what would force Rake to protect the city? It's not his city.
No.
Am I missing that somewhere?
It's not his city, but he has parked Moonspawn above it.
Okay.
As he did with Pale. And has clearly taken a position against the Empire on this. At least that's what he seems to be doing. But as plans go, I mean, it's not exactly foolproof.
No. None of the plans seem particularly good.
Yeah. It's. I mean, it's probably not giving away too much to say none of these plans are the actual plans. The actual plans are far more diabolical.
And none of them have actually come to fruition yet, either.
No, not yet.
I mean, we've been here for how long, and they still haven't found the Assassin's Guild.
Yeah, well, they've tried.
Well, they've tried, I suppose.
But Rake's intervened and stopped them.
Yeah. Machinations.
So 2 plans. Meet the Assassin's Guild, put a contract on all the top brass in the city. That didn't happen. Go get this thing out of the Jagged's tomb, resurrect the Jagged tyrant, and then lead it into the city. That hasn't happened yet. And then, I suppose, mine the city streets has happened.
Off camera.
Off camera, yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
And then, of course, Whiskey Jack then drops, oh, and by the way, we've been employed as private security for a party tonight. No biggie.
Just imagine Lorne's face when she hears that.
Yeah. Moonlighting tonight. He's picked up a job.
As you said earlier, what mall cop?
Yeah.
But it sort of almost doubles down as like on that kind of A-team feel. It's like you can just imagine these paramilitary band of misfits coming through, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll save your party."
What are you? We're private security.
I pity the fool.
Pity the fool.
I ain't getting on no plane.
Hey, you crazy fool, Hannibal. That is an A-team reference. Actually, pity the fool. I don't want to embarrass you online, Adil, but it's a line from Rocky 3.
Yeah.
But it's Mr. T, nevertheless.
It is. First name Mr. Last name T.
And finally, sorry, one thing I didn't understand about the scene was when Lorne leaves, they whisk away the sort of Monty Python style, the blanket that was hiding the secret tunnel, and quick bends in there.
Right, because they tried to get her to go down it.
Almost found me. What was going on there? I honestly didn't make sense.
I thought that he had put him in there to kill her.
Quick bend.
Oh, no, he wouldn't do that.
I don't think quick bend.
I think he was just trying to buy some, like, he was trying to ensure that she didn't go that way. So I think he knew at that point that she wasn't going to do what he wanted her to do. So he was like, oh, why don't you go in here? Because he knew his guys were in there, right?
Oh, okay. But I mean, aren't his guys supposed to be there? That's really my question.
Yeah. So, I think it was a very weird one. And they were like, hey, what's going on? She almost came in here. He's like, nah, She was never going to come in there.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to demonstrate the extent to which Whiskey Jack is basically controlling the discourse with Lauren.
Yeah.
And we go to Serrat again. Poor old Serrat. This is the final scene that I was talking about, where she decides to attack Crocus and Absalom at the top of the tower. And once again, she gets a knife to her throat by an invisible protector. And this is where the whispered words, compliments of the prince, or words to that effect are, leave this guy alone, basically. Sparing your life, compliments of the prince. The prince can only be Prince Kaz Davor, who is the leader of the Crimson Guard. The Crimson Guard, by the way, as a little history aside, were so when the Malazans basically took over the mainland of Unta, they took out all the local leaders, including the royal family of one of the areas, and the prince was the crown prince of this area, and he formed his unit, or a group of mercenaries called the Crimson Guard, who have sworn to end the Malazan Empire once and for all. And the leaders among them are called the Avowed, and they've taken an oath to the extent that they can't die until the Malazan Empire has been wiped from the earth. And they're called the Avowed, the top leadership of the Crimson Guard. So they're like a badass mercenary company with some leaders who can't die, essentially, just as a matter of history. Anyway, that's who's being referred to. And we last heard about them. They were helping Caladan Brood beat up the Malazans in the north of Genebacus.
So then he says, compliments of the prince, take it up with our mutual friend. So who's the mutual friend?
Must be Rake or Caladan Brood that's being referred to. So, and you remember there was that weird, I think one of you pointed out that in that brief scene we had with Caladan Brood and Rake and his Tuasi called Calor, he talked about protecting the coin bearer, which I thought was out of place at the time. I didn't realize he had any interest in the coin bearer, but obviously it links to this. So once again, plans within plans. And to end the chapter, we get.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah, we get
That's
firstly,
so cool.
a point of view of the tyrant race, basically about his history. It's like villain backstory, origin story for race. It's not good. It's dark as hell. He's basically cruel, mean, unfeeling, and we get a little bit of an insight into what drives it. It's essentially bad things and hatred. And then, I mean that scene was the sort of setup. Then you get the scene of Crone flying around, and she suddenly sees 5 dragons heading across the land or through the air, and then we get back to Race, who's busy tearing up whole mountains and destroying land and making huge fissures in the ground. And
earthquakes and stuff. It's very
earthquakes and all this crap. You get a sense of what kind of being, and he just gets set upon by 5 dragons. That scene, let me get your impressions on it.
What struck me was when he first comes out, and I think he looks to the horizon, and there's all these mountains there, and the next minute they just explode, and they just go, they get chucked into the sky, and that's when I realized the sheer power.
Yeah,
just by looking at the mountains, and these things just explode. I thought that was really good. And then there's the 4 black dragons bordered with silver, then there's a big fat red one.
Yeah,
and then just all hell breaks loose.
He sort of taunts them as well as they come in as well. And the impression I got from reading that chapter is by the end of that fight, he's still up.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so that's worrying. But it was a strange scene because it's almost like otherworldly in a way. It's we've been talking about all these interactions and human interactions and plans and these double crosses, and now suddenly you just got this creature tearing up the landscape, being assaulted by dragons. It sort of ups the scale quite a lot.
It does, but I also got the impression that he knows them, or they're kind of old, that they might have been mortal enemies back whenever, because he knows them he knows their names in his language.
Yes, he does.
And that scene where the claws are about to snuff him out, and he just basically does a Indiana Jones, sticks his hand in the dragon's chest, and sorts it out.
No, it's. I suppose the scene is supposed to demonstrate how dangerous he is as an entity. Gareth, Adil, what did you guys make of that scene?
I loved it. I mean, I also just like Al, just love the scale of him, and you just really do get the feeling that, you know, we used to sort of like seeing human scale destruction, and this is just like you say, Al, like ripping mountains up, just with a flick of the wrist kind of thing. I mean, it's madness. So really, really quite a terrifying antagonist. And then he's also got that great line at the end, but I'll let you. Right, the last line of the chapter, you'll see it's like a little quote from him. It's really sort of quite eerie.
Yeah, I made a note of a quote in an earlier chapter that I meant to mention, which I really like. But maybe it's time for this one now, because this will end the chapter as well.
Adil, what did you think of the?
Yeah, I was just going to say two things on that. So the one is that it kind of goes back again to some of our early discussions of Erikson's style, right, where he tries to use different ways of writing, and this was very different to the other stuff that the way that he describes and the way that he almost thinks in these few pages was quite different, and to some extent, I was the opposite of you guys. Like I almost like wasn't that interested in it. It was kind of going along, and I was like, oh, okay, get on with it now. Like I want to get where you're going, not like hear all this nonsense about what you're thinking. And then, and while you were talking now, I was just almost thinking like, you know, it's when you build up such a powerful bad guy, it's almost like a lot of these, like the Avengers movies, where you've got like this guy who's obviously indestructible and can't be beaten, but somehow, you know, by the end of it, he's going to get beaten. And it's like, I kind of feel like he's too powerful for all of the things.
Like Thanos.
Yeah, it's like Thanos. And now how are you supposed to beat Thanos?
You can't.
You shouldn't be able to.
No, I mean, I was kind of baiting these guys with those questions as well, because I felt similar to you, Adil, in a way, because I mean, I love the sort of scale of the description, but I also got a sense of like, how powerful is this guy? You know, like if this guy is this powerful, that then I mean, Tool's statement, well, maybe it's a bad idea we release him, kind of becomes a little.
And Tool was one of the most powerful people we'd come across up until that point, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how powerful Rake's sword is, not a chance.
But you also get a sense the Empress must know, like by reputation at least, how powerful this guy is. And it's,
I think what Adil was saying about the change in the style of the writing, I got the impression that, and I've said this on loads of the episodes, about show, don't tell. And I think in this, normally he tells us all the way through the book. And I thought this was one little vignette where he actually just showed us his power. He didn't say, oh, he's so powerful. You know, he actually just, you know, he comes out the tomb and then boom, mountains start exploding and things like that. And I thought, maybe that's the change in pace, that you've actually been shown this and you're actually drawing your own conclusions.
Because you've heard about him all the time. Yeah,
you've heard about him all the time, and I suppose there has to be a payoff. And as I suppose rightly as Adil says, you know, is the payoff worth the threat? But then you've got to say to yourself, well, if someone's going to stop this dude like Rake, then we obviously have no understanding, even so far as we are into the book, of how powerful Rake actually is. If he thinks he's even got a chance to take this dude out.
Yeah.
Or if they pull some kind of shenanigans, right? And he's got some kind of Achilles heel that like
bridge burner shenanigans. I'm banking on Quick Ben immediately.
Or some kind of special arrow or whatever. Like
arrow and the one hole in the armor.
Yeah. I'll be disappointed in all of those endings.
Yeah, I don't think
is going to run and kneel behind him.
That's not an Eriksonian approach, though. He won't have the chink in the armor, I don't think. It'll be something completely out of left field, and you'll be like, "What?"
It's going to be what's his name, the horny teenager,
Crocus.
Crocus. He's going to flip a coin or something, and then something's going to happen.
Heads, you're
dead, bro.
His head explodes.
Head's dead.
What is the quote, Gareth?
It's right at the end where he says, he climbed once more to his feet. Now he whispered, I delivered death.
Holy shit.
Fuck
that's pretty cool. You got to admit that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, he is badass. There's no doubt about it. But, it's basically,
a more ominous line you can't get, right?
Yeah, and we said before we started today that at least 4 chapters, and we're going to kill all 4 before we do the next video. And it's probably quite fitting that he sets up those last 4 chapters. You know, this is in case you didn't know you were at the climax. Race just told you, guys.
Yeah. I got the feeling. I walked away with the feeling that it feels like water going down the drain, like we're circling now. The pace is quickened. Everything seems to be. All the characters are now in place. Everyone's where they should be after this whole entire book.
Everyone's going to one party.
Everyone's going to one party.
Even Rake is going to be there.
Well, I want to know, what is the Jagged Tyrant going to dress up as?
Well, that's true.
He's got a cup mask.
You think anyone will know it's me?
I had a quote, but I just found it now. It's probably good. It's probably not on point, but it's to do with Rake, and it's to do with Baruch asking Rake, like, what the hell are you guys? What skin have you got in this game? Like, why are you involved? And I just like it because it says, it's just a few lines, but Baruch sat forward. Then why do you do all this? A harsh laugh was Rake's response. After a moment, however, his bitter amusement fell away, and he said, is an honorable cause worth anything these days? Does it matter that we borrowed it? We fight as well as any man. We die alongside them. Mercenaries of the spirit. And even that is a coin we scarcely value. Why? It doesn't matter why. But we never betray our allies. I thought that was pretty badass too. You know, we've been around a long time and everything's a bit meh for us, but we don't betray our allies. I kind of like that. Don't know why I flagged it. Did any of you guys have any passages you thought were cool?
No, not particularly. Yeah.
I think that's all I had. I think I had one more which I kind of liked as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I think we've kind of gotten into the writing now, right? I mean, I know the first 3 chapters, first 3 episodes, we kept talking about the writing style and how it was difficult to get into. But I think eventually we did get into it. And now it's like there are fewer passages where we sort of feel we have to call it out in the particular style.
Maybe this is our climax.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest here, though. Like, I can't wait for this thing to be over. I just want to get to the end of this book.
Let's do it.
Faintly, this is Paran. No. He heard the words of one of his childhood tutors. The man's lined face rose into his thoughts to accompany the voice. Those whom the gods choose, 'tis said, they first separate from other mortals by treachery, by stripping from you your spirit's lifeblood. The gods will take all your loved ones one by one to their death. And as you harden, as you become what they seek, the gods smile and nod. Each company you shun brings you closer to them. 'Tis the shaping of a tool, son, the prod and pull. The final succor they offer you is to end your loneliness. the very isolation they helped you create. Never get noticed, boy. I thought it was quite a nice callback to that opening scene as well.
Yeah, I do actually. I do recall that now. That did stand out.
I just thought it was quite cool. Never get noticed, boy. And it's so much about, we spoke a little bit before we started about the relationship between gods and men and how it forms such a pivotal thing in this book. And it's almost a book about men shaking off. I think about men shaking off the gods. This idea of don't get noticed by the gods. Well, it's too late now. You are noticed. Now what you're going to do about it? That's what I feel. And I particularly want to read that because Alistair let slip that he read the prologue to the next book, which is actually the last chapter. It's actually at the end of this novel. But anyway, I think that brings us to the end of chapter 20. That leaves us 4 chapters to the end. And we'll do all 4, guys. You up for that?
Cool.
Okay.
Put's breath.
That'll be our sign off.
Put's breath.
Yeah, and then we're going to do a review, are we? Like a whole.
Yeah, just a little. We'll just get together and just do a little summary. I can't wait. I took out the quotes from you guys in the first episode, and I want to play them back to you and see how what's changed, if anything. But anyway,
quite a bit.
Yeah. Anyway, I look forward to doing that. But thank you for this, and
Cool.
We'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Cheers,
Cheers, guys.